For decades, the tech industry was defined by a silent war of code. But today, that war has moved from the cloud to the earth itself. We have entered an era where the most valuable resource is no longer oil, or even gold. It is compute. And the race to control it has reached a level of scale that defies human comprehension. Microsoft and OpenAI are currently planning the largest engineering project in human history, Project Stargate. What began as a secret blueprint shared between Sam Altman and Satya Nadella has evolved into a $500 billion nationwide network of supercomputers designed for a single purpose: to birth artificial general intelligence. This is not just another data center. This is a Manhattan Project for the digital age. A physical fortress of silicon and steel that will eventually require more energy than entire nations to operate. As we look at the construction sites in Texas and Wisconsin, we are witnessing the assembly of the most expensive and complex machine ever built by human hands. Today, we go inside the 5 phases of the Stargate roadmap, the alliance of titans building it, and why the winner of this race will control the destiny of our civilization. This is the story of the final frontier in human engineering, a journey into the heart of the machine that will define the next 1,000 years of progress. The gates are opening, and the infrastructure to support what comes next is being assembled right now. To understand the monumental scale of Stargate, we must first look back at its foundational stages, a period of quiet but intense preparation. Phases 1 and 2 were the foundation of this industrial revolution. During these stages, Microsoft and OpenAI focused on building localized clusters dedicated purely to large language model training. These were the systems that powered the early iterations of GPT-3 and GPT-4, proving a fundamental law of the AI era, that intelligence is a direct function of scale. These early clusters were the laboratory where engineers discovered that simply adding more compute wasn't enough. You needed a radical new way to move data between millions of processors. They learned that traditional data center architectures would collapse under the weight of AGI-level workloads. While the public was focused on the conversational abilities of chatbots, the engineers in Redmond and San Francisco were already planning for a world where compute would be measured in gigawatts, not megawatts. They were building the groundwork for a transition that would take us from software as a tool to software as a sovereign entity. We are currently moving through Phase 3, the most critical transition point in the history of AI hardware. This is the era of the NVIDIA Blackwell shift. Microsoft has committed hundreds of billions to securing millions of these next-generation accelerators, creating training clusters that are more powerful than the combined computing capacity of the entire world just half a decade ago. Phase 3 is characterized by the integration of mid-scale superclusters that act as the testing ground for the monolithic architectures of the future. The challenge here is the liquid cooling and the physical density of the hardware. Each Blackwell rack generates so much heat that it requires its own dedicated industrial cooling loop, weaving through the servers like a chemical processing plant. We are seeing the death of air-cooled data centers and the birth of high-pressure fluid-cooled monoliths. These systems are so dense that the physical floor of the data center has to be reinforced with military-grade steel just to support the weight of the server arrays. This phase is the bridge that takes us from the decentralized cloud of the past to the unified, sovereign compute of the future, where a single cluster can simulate the complexity of an entire economy. Phase 4 is where the scale becomes truly incomprehensible to the traditional IT industry. scheduled for full deployment by 2026. This phase involves the creation of a $10 billion supercluster, a facility so large it requires its own dedicated power substation and a custom networking fabric. This phase acts as the final dress rehearsal for Stargate itself. Facilities like the Fairwater campus in Wisconsin and the massive expansions in Abilene, Texas, are the physical manifestation of this bridge. In Phase 4, the engineers are solving the problem of monolithic interconnectivity, how to make hundreds of thousands of GPUs act as a single, unified brain. This requires moving away from industry-standard InfiniBand toward a proprietary, high-speed Ethernet fabric designed from the ground up for AGI training. This networking layer is the nervous system of the machine, capable of moving petabytes of data every second with near-zero latency. By the end of Phase 4, Microsoft and OpenAI will have a compute cluster that is capable of training frontier models with tens of trillions of parameters, models that can reason through the most complex problems in physics, biology, and materials science in a matter of seconds. Finally, we reach the apex of this roadmap, Phase 5, known simply as Stargate. This is the flagship project, a $100 billion monolithic supercomputer that is projected to be operational by 2030. Stargate is designed to be a 5-gigawatt computing entity. To put that in perspective, that is the energy output of 5 large nuclear reactors. Unlike traditional data centers that are modular and distributed across the globe, Stargate is designed as a singular, cohesive organism. Every chip, every cooling loop, and every fiber optic line is optimized for a single objective: the training and execution of artificial general intelligence. This is the most expensive and complex machine ever built by human hands. It is a physical fortress of intelligence, a site where the digital world and the physical world converge to create something entirely new. The sheer physical size of Stargate would be visible from space, a geometric pattern of server wings and cooling towers spanning miles. It is the final gate, and once it is opened, the nature of intelligence, work, and human history itself will be fundamentally altered. We are no longer building a tool. We are building an ecosystem for a new form of life. The monumental scale of Stargate has created what engineers call the energy paradox. To create the brain of the future, we need more power than our current national grids can provide. This has led Sam Altman and Satya Nadella to pursue a strategy of total energy independence. Microsoft is increasingly looking toward nuclear energy, specifically small modular reactors and long-term investments in nuclear fusion through companies like Helion Energy. Stargate will likely be the first industrial complex in history that is powered by its own dedicated nuclear power plants, completely decoupled from the public grid. This is a strategic move to bypass the regulatory, political, and physical limitations of the aging American power infrastructure. In the future, the strength of a technology titan won't be measured by its stock price or its user base, but by the number of gigawatts it can generate and sustain. The race for AGI is, in many ways, a race for energy supremacy. If you control the power, you control the intelligence. This is why the Alliance is building a new energy infrastructure that will last for a century, ensuring that the machine never has to sleep. Beyond the technical hurdles, Stargate is a project of compute sovereignty. In the geopolitical landscape of the 2030s, the power of a nation will be defined by its total petaflops. He who controls the largest supercomputer controls the ability to simulate and predict reality, develop advanced autonomous defense systems, and solve complex biological puzzles in days rather than decades. This is why the United States government is beginning to view Stargate not just as a corporate asset, but as a critical piece of national security infrastructure. The alliance between Microsoft, OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle is a strategic shield for the West. In a world where AI is the ultimate leverage, having the world's most powerful compute fortress on domestic soil is the ultimate guarantee of security. We are seeing a shift where the US military and the intelligence community become the primary customers of these sovereign clusters, ensuring that the next generation of strategic advantages is built within the walls of Stargate. The battlefield of the future will be won or lost in the server racks of Abilene and Fairwater. As we look toward the completion of Phase 5, the hardware stack will evolve into the Vera Rubin era and beyond. These are chips designed specifically for the monolithic requirements of Stargate, capable of processing data at speeds that challenge the very laws of physics. We are moving from the era of AI tools to the era of AI planets, massive hubs of intelligence that will act as the nerve centers of the global economy. This is the ultimate vertical integration, a single empire that controls the silicon, the energy, the networking, and the algorithms. Microsoft and OpenAI are not just building a computer. They are building the operating system for the next 1,000 years of human history. The Vera Rubin architecture represents the pinnacle of human materials science, a processor that can simulate the quantum properties of atoms to design its own successors. This is the beginning of the end for traditional software, and the dawn of a world run by autonomous physical intelligence. The machine is becoming self-improving, and Stargate is the womb where this evolution is taking place. Project Stargate is the ultimate bet on the future of our species. It is a $500 billion gamble that the path to AGI is paved with physical infrastructure of unimaginable scale. As we stand at the threshold of this new era, one thing is certain. The world we knew is disappearing, and something far more powerful is taking its place. The gates are opening, and the question is no longer if we can reach the other side, but what we will become once we arrive. Stargate is the final barrier, the fortress where the collective intelligence of humanity is being concentrated into a single point of silicon. The sovereign era of AGI is here, and the construction of the future has already begun. The lights in the data centers are glowing, the cooling loops are humming, and the machine is waking up. We are no longer the architects. We are the witnesses to a new form of history. The race for the future is accelerating, and the scale of the battlefield is now measured in gigawatts and billions. Stay tuned to this channel as we continue to track the titans of tech and the projects that are redefining power in the 21st century. Subscribe to secure your front row seat to the technological revolution. We'll see you in the next deep dive into the technology of power. The era of Stargate has just begun.